Welcome to Movie Story Short, the channel where we break down your favorite films in just a few minutes. Today, we have an exciting and chilling tale for you. 2019, a psychological horror thriller. Us begins with a haunting scene from 1986 in a California amusement park, where a young girl named Adelaide Wilson, played by Madison Curry, is visiting with her parents. The family heads to a funhouse, and Adelaide, drawn to the mirrors and strange reflections, steps away from her parents. Inside, she encounters a version of herself, an eerie, silent, and unsettling doppelganger. Frightened by this encounter, Adelaide returns to her parents, but the traumatic experience leaves a lasting impression, a fear she carries with her for the rest of her life. Fast forward to the present day, and Adelaide, now an adult, played by Lupita Nyong'o, is married to Gabe Wilson Winston Duke, and they have two children, Zura Shahadi Wright Joseph and Jason Evan Alex. The Wilson family travels to their vacation home in Santa Cruz, California, where Adelaide's childhood trauma resurfaces. She feels uneasy being back in the same location where she had the encounter with her doppelganger. Adelaide's anxiety grows, but Gabe brushes it off, believing it's just a harmless memory from the past. On their first evening in Santa Cruz, the Wilsons decide to head to the beach for a night of fun. They meet up with their friends, the Tylers, who are staying in a nearby house, but as darkness sets in, Adelaide's unease intensifies. Suddenly, a family of four appears on their driveway, wearing matching red jumpsuits. These strangers look exactly like the Wilson family, but with subtle yet disturbing differences. They are eerily silent and unnerving, standing in a synchronized manner. At first, the Wilsons are confused, but the tension quickly escalates when the doppelgangers begin attacking them. These twisted versions of the Wilson family are called the Tethered, and they begin to enact a terrifying and violent plot. Each family member is confronted with their tethered counterpart. Gabe faces a doppelganger named Abraham, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Zora's counterpart is a fierce, fast-moving version of herself, and Jason's doppelganger is a silent and disfigured version called Pluto. The Tethered family, the tethered version of Adelaide, Abraham, Umbri, and Pluto have come to kill their above-ground counterparts. Their appearance and actions are unsettling, with Red, in particular, being the most chilling. She leads the Tethered with a clear, cold purpose to take the place of the Wilson family. Red's speech is deep and haunting, revealing that she and the others have been living in underground tunnels, mimicking the lives of their counterparts for years, a twisted reflection of the real people they are tied to. The Tethered were created as part of an abandoned government experiment in the 1980s. The US government had attempted to control its population by creating these shadow versions of people who were meant to mirror the actions of their counterparts. However, after being left to live in isolation underground, the Tethered grew resentful and began plotting their uprising. They want to take over the world above, to swap places with those who have lived normal lives. As the night continues, the Wilson family fights for their lives. The doppelgangers are relentless and brutal in their attacks. Each confrontation reveals the twisted duality of the family members' lives. Zora, normally an athletic teenager, has to outrun her tethered counterpart, who is faster and more aggressive. Gabe, typically an easygoing man, must summon his courage to confront Abraham, a giant, monstrous version of himself. The terror culminates when Adelaide confronts Red, her own twisted doppelganger, in a final showdown. As the battle rages on, a shocking truth is revealed. Adelaide is not the real Adelaide. In a shocking flashback, we learn that the young Adelaide we saw in the opening sequence of the film was actually the tethered version, and the real Adelaide, whom we've known as the adult version, is the one who had been trapped in the underground tunnels. During her childhood, the real Adelaide and the tethered Adelaide had swapped places in the funhouse, and it was the tethered version who had lived the life above ground, taking on the role of the real Adelaide. The ultimate twist reveals that Red, the leader of the Tethered, is actually the original Adelaide. She had been trapped underground for years, growing resentful and vengeful. When the Tethered rose up to attack the surface world, Red's plan was to destroy her real counterpart, taking her place in the process. The final moments of the film show Adelaide and her family escaping the Tethered, but the threat of the uprising still looms large. The Tethered have begun their rebellion across the country. As the film ends with a chilling realization, the world is on the brink of chaos, and the Tethered are taking over one family at a time. Themes and symbolism. Us explores complex themes such as duality, identity, and class struggle. The concept of the Tethered symbolizes the darker sides of ourselves, the parts we hide or repress, and the consequences of ignoring the parts of ourselves that are uncomfortable or difficult to face. The film's eerie atmosphere is enhanced by its focus on the divide between the haves and the have-nots, with the tethered representing a metaphor for the oppressed and forgotten people who are ignored by society. Peele uses the doppelganger concept to challenge viewers to consider how much of who we are is shaped by our environment, and how we deal with our own darker impulses. The film is as much about the fear of facing our own shadows as it is about the terror of survival in a world where everything familiar is turned upside down. And here we end the movie. If you enjoyed this breakdown of US, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe.